We're gonna get rolling. Like I said,
It's the
just
shit
relax.
show. It's the shit show.
It's the shit
All
show.
we do is talk about how we met and what you're doing now, and it's all about Joker cycles, dude. That's what this is all about, man. That's the whole thing. So, hey everybody, thanks for listening in. I am here with Jeremy Valentine and his wife Alicia. Elena, God, see, I'm terrible. Yeah, all my students will understand because I always tell them it takes me 180 days to learn a name.
Then school's over.
That's right. It's terrible. It is awful. And the problem is, I would remember a name after I saw them like 5 minutes ago. And it's happened to me multiple times where I've had kids come up to me, hey, Mr. Schick, how you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my God, kiddo, how you doing? And I'm looking at them like, I know who you are. I remember you, but I have no clue what your name is. And I don't know if they realize it. You know, but, hey kid, how you know, oh my gosh, you're getting, you got your own kid now. That's all. And I'll sit there and I'll sweat it. And I'm trying to get it out of them what their name is. But I'm terrible with names. I'm terrible.
It happens every time I come back to Blackford County.
I'm terrible with names, dude.
Every time I come back to Blackford County, somebody's like, hey, man, what's up? I'm like, hey, how you doing? She's like, who's that? I said, I have no idea.
Well, you graduated from Blackford High School. Yeah?
No, I didn't graduate.
You didn't graduate?
No, man, I didn't
You know
graduate.
that?
Nope.
So everything you're doing, you're just self-taught.
Yeah,
I
everything.
love it. I love it. I've always been a person that talked about a guy I worked with.
To be clear, I got my JED, but I didn't graduate high school.
Okay. Hey, no judgment here, brother. Some of the smartest people I've worked with, some of the most intelligent people I've ever worked with, I worked with in a factory. His name was Danny Garrett. Danny Garrett was a maintenance man at Overhead Door, 6th grade education. That guy, I have yet to meet anyone as intelligent as him.
Right.
And just look at something and understand how it worked. And was never afraid to ask questions. The smartest people on earth ask. And I have no disrespect for those who have an education. I have a formal education myself. You need to move that mic closer. This might end up being about her.
Do it, man. It's all about her anyway.
So went to Blackford High School. We met. God, we were young.
Oh, man, I've known you my whole life pretty much.
It feels that way. And one of my favorite memories, and there's multiple of them, but one of my favorites, and I think we've talked about this before, I can't remember, but one of my favorite memories, we're in the backyard behind Frank Rains' house on Chestnut Street. And my mom or you, or like, I can't remember where the bow and arrow come from.
Oh, I don't
know if my mom got it at a rummage, maybe you had it and, brought it over, we were playing with it. But we're taking this bow and arrow. Do you remember this at all?
Vaguely.
Oh, man, I remember it like it was yesterday. And we're taking this bow and arrow, and we're shooting it straight up in the sky.
I do remember that.
And God, like, we're too young to really understand the kind of
It comes
shit.
down.
Yeah, it's gonna come down. There's a point on the end of that thing, and it's coming down somewhere. And I just remember my brother, Bill, he come out and just ripped us, and mainly me, for just the
I think I ran back to Grandpa's house.
I'm sure, right? You had an out. I didn't. I was stuck with him. But yeah, he saved me from peril many times. He was always there to save me from, maybe the neighborhood bully that was a few years older that was about to whip my ass or something. And
I remember that Frank's house. We lived above that when I was very little, like back in the blizzard of '78. Like Grandpa Valentine shoveled a path from his front door to Frank's house because Mom and Dad lived above it.
yeah.
And I remember the blizzard of '78 to where Grandpa's carrying me and the snow's taller than he is. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that's one of my earliest memories because I was
scared to death of your grandpa. I loved your grandpa. I was scared to death of him. He scared the living
all 96 pounds of him.
I'm telling you, man, scared the crap out of me.
He didn't take much, man. He didn't. He was a good dude.
And there was did they have Bostons? What kind of dogs did they have? They had
They had pit bulls.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
I just remember I scared shitless of the dogs too.
Tipper Sue.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Your grandma was the sweetest lady on the planet.
Yeah, she passed away when I was in 2nd or 3rd grade.
Okay.
Yeah, but I remember she always, you'd walk in the house and, the house wasn't nothing, right? It was,
Yeah. No, listen, dude, we all
it was
lived
home,
on that.
though. It was great.
That's right.
So you would walk in and you could see her. She always made her own slacks and she made her own tops, right, with her
I didn't
Singer
know
sewing
that.
machine.
Nice.
So you'd walk in the kitchen and you could always see her from the edge because she was a bigger lady. So she had this chair she would set facing the back door, and she would always be in the kitchen, whether she was canning noodles, whatever she was making, and she always drank out of a brown Hershey's cup that was like a 24 ouncer. Always drank water too. That's all she drank was water.
Wow.
That's what she told you it was.
No, it was water. Grandpa Valentine, that might have been a different story.
That's true. Yeah.
Remember all the little buildings around there?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so
They were all, in my mind. They were just full.
yeah, they're all full.
Stuff.
Old furniture or whatever, you know. And it was actually, he would walk me around after lunch or whatever. He'd walk, hey, me and my grandfather, I don't know if you know this or not, he couldn't say Jeremy.
Okay.
So when I was younger, I was always Bubby. And then when I got to be older,
I remember that.
he would call me Germany. He couldn't say Jeremy, he always called me Germany.
That's awesome.
So he'd walk me around the property, and we'd go look in this shed and go check this shed. Had the big house, which is the one on the right.
Mm-hmm.
The little house was the one that was over to, if you're standing there looking at the house, you know, you'll remember it because you were there. But the big house on the right, the little house was in between the shop, and the shop was straight out back.
Yep.
So we'd walk that whole, and he had a good piece of property for being in town.
You really did.
So we'd walk around there, and he would have bottles of Wild Irish Rose stashed everywhere. And we'd walk around the property, and he'd give me a hit of that Wild Irish Rose every time he took a hit. And my grandma used to tell him, she said, Jeremy sleeps so well after your yard walks.
That's hilarious. What did he do? What was his
Actually, he worked for the Methodist Church in Hartford City for like 35 years as janitor.
No kidding.
Right up
I
there
did not
beside
know
the
that.
old, I can't remember the name of the tire place up there. I can't remember the name of it was,
Goodyear, Genis.
you know where the Methodist Church is at, right across from the old car wash?
Yeah.
It was,
Oh, so it would have been Goodyear.
yeah, a good year back in those
was
days.
Genis
But he would
Tire.
walk to work, walk home, and
I didn't know that.
yeah, and then he would reupholster furniture out in his shop when he was a side hustle. And then you seen the gardens he put out.
Oh, yeah.
He was pretty
Man,
self-sufficient.
there were. Yeah. How like just thinking back, I think back to how creative some of these older gentlemen were, you know, just in what they could do, what they did for a living, and then what they did, you know, we call it a side hustle now, but that was a second job, third job, you know.
That was a
or
necessity for them.
100%, man. And the garden was one of those things, you know, for us.
Right.
My dad had a big garden out there, and part of it was hobby, but boy, we ate that food. I mean, my mom canned it and we ate it, and I'm sure your grandparents did too. And that
Remember his rabbit hutches out back?
Oh, 100%. That's how I ended up getting a rabbit. It's because I wanted a rabbit. I was so jealous. I wanted the rabbit, and I ended up getting the rabbit. Not from them, but I had, absolutely.
You had him on your porch, didn't you?
No, well, no. My dad built me a hutch, and we put it out back. We didn't have it on the porch. It was out back.
But yeah, we go out there and feed those rabbits and everything else, and he would raise them. I tell her all the time, rabbit's great, and she loves looking at them. She wants a pet one with a litter box in my house, right? But
You used to be able to keep one.
I could keep. He would pardon the one I picked as mine.
Is that what it was?
That one, and then it would live its life. But if any other
Rabbit's
time
good,
though,
man.
Grandma would get the pressure cooker out, and we go pick one, and that was it.
Wow. I never had it pressure cooked. We always fried it.
What she'd do, I mean, that woman could take a potato and cook it 900 different ways. You know what I mean?
Man, they were so creative. Why was I scared to death of him?
Everybody was.
Yeah,
I was petrified of Frank Raines, Blackie, your dad. I was petrified of those guys. I wasn't even allowed to talk to them, and that was probably my mom going, "Don't talk to them," you know.
Dude, I mean, it was my family. So I mean, I even had kids
Right.
in school that, even in William Reed, I remember this is a legit story. I would literally go. I went to William Reed. I lived on Jefferson Street, and I would get out of school, and I would literally fight in the churchyard beside William Reed every day because somebody didn't like me because I was a Valentine, this, that, and the other. I mean, fortunate for me, all my uncles, I didn't have any aunts, all my uncles, paved a real nice way for me to be in Blackford County. Okay, it was great. So I would literally fight every day after school. And I remember my grandpa walking up, and I handed him my book bag, and he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I got to go over here and talk to," I can't remember the kid's name or whatever. And there's like 3 or 4 kids that were going to fight with me. And I remember my grandfather saying, "Listen, y'all can go one at a time, but we ain't going to all jump on him." And he stood there and watched me go one at a time, you know? And it was just, it was such a normal thing for me growing up
I
that,
didn't know that.
oh, dude, it was constant.
I never knew that part of you.
It was constant. And it wasn't until after, I mean, it was every day. I mean, I had kids that I couldn't go to their house. They'd say, "Hey, don't tell my parents your last name." You know, but and even in high school, even after I came back, it was like that. People are like, "Hey, man, why don't you come over and hang out? But don't tell my dad your last name because of something that a cousin or whatever had done." And listen, there's my family, especially in Blackford County, in those days, were known for good people, hardworking, but hell raisers too, right? I mean, that was guaranteed.
Yeah.
Uncle Blackie, one of the greatest guys you ever wanted to meet, man. He'd give you your shirt off his back. Super nice guy. He used to trick or treat in Hartford. Used to be 2 days.
Yeah.
He would walk me around this whole city, man, and I'd fill 2 grocery sacks, not grocery sacks. Yeah, the brown paper bags, completely full of candy, and he didn't care, man. He'd walk me around this town all day. He didn't care.
That's awesome.
You know, and my, grandpa wasn't. He just didn't take any shit.
Yeah.
You were a young teenage kid, and if you started being a dumbass, he wasn't going to take no shit from.
Right.
He wouldn't take any shit from anybody.
Listen, I wasn't a teenager when I was around him, and I didn't give him no shit. I wasn't looking to find out. I wasn't gonna mess around and find out. You know.
Here's a story I shared with my wife. I was probably 7 or 8, and I was sitting in the kitchen playing checkers with Grandpa Valentine after breakfast. And Grandma Valentine was starting everything to make dinner that night. Now, the people that are there are my Uncle Bill, my dad, Lex, I can't remember who else was there. Blackie might have been there. And they were all arguing about this piece of shit truck that was sitting out back and how so-and-so sold it to so-and-so and sold it. No, we had a deal worked out for this and that and the other. Well, anyways, one of them sold it, and everybody was all pissed off about it. And my grandmother said, "Boys, not in the kitchen," right?
Mm-hmm.
And they ignored her. And my grandfather had his glasses at the tip of his nose, and he just kind of looked over there. And we were sitting there, and we were playing checkers. They kept going with their argument in the middle of the kitchen. And Grandma said, "Boys," I said, "not in the kitchen." And one of them said, "Mom, just hush," or something like that. And my grandpa turned and looked, and he reached behind me, and he took his cane off the chair and just stomped it on the floor, hung the cane back on my chair and said, "It's your move," and the whole kitchen emptied. Like he did. 96 pounds, didn't have to say fucking nothing.
God, man, that's a whole nother level of respect.
Oh yeah,
You know
man.
what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I had to roll with the punches as a kid because of the stuff that my family did. You know, just they were, like I said, they're good, hardworking. They just like to get drunk and get wound up. You know.
Right. Well, and their motorcycles were loud, Jeremy.
What'd you say?
Their motorcycles were loud.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, my motorcycles aren't loud. That's why I had
No,
to turn the
sure.
volume up on this when we started, right?
I'm sure. Yeah. You know, my wife and I have been to a few concerts. We started going to concerts again. It's been a while for whatever reason, you know. But we went to Bonnaroo for a day to see the Foo Fighters and a couple other bands. Found some bands that I really liked down there that I didn't know I liked. It was really cool. And then we went to Louder Than Life down in Louisville, and 4 days of just mayhem. It was a great show. I'm telling you, some of the greatest people on earth. There was a 10-year-old boy that ends up next to me and my wife, and then we took a friend of ours with us named Taylor. And Taylor's a big dude. He's like 6'9" or something, but just a gentle giant. this 10-year-old boy comes walking up, and he's with us during Pantera's set. In front of us, there is maybe 3 people, and then a ginormous pit.
Mm-hmm.
Behind us, I'm at the, like, my back's to the pit, and this boy is standing between me and Taylor the entire show, or somewhere in that vicinity the entire show, and everybody just looked out after him. And I thought, this is exactly what we're talking about here. What appears to be oftentimes is not.
Oh, 100%.
There's just this perception people take, and because perception's reality.
What I've told this to a lot of people. Like back in 1987, my dad drove the black Lincoln Ford LTD, right, the black one, and he had a beard and long hair and tattoos. Had a Harley plate on his car. In 1987, we got out of that car at the grocery store. We were pieces of shit.
Right.
Look at this guy. Cut his sleeves off his shirt, all this stuff. Now you're like, cool. That guy is like, everybody has a beard and a Harley plate, and they're cool guys, Right. But when I was a kid, it was like, oh, your dad rides a motorcycle.
Right.
That's how it was.
You're right. It's interesting how the culture's changed from, like this anti-establishment to what it is today, where, my brother owns 3 of them. They're sitting in his garage.
That's all?
Right. Just for him, I'm still trying to figure out why he's got 3. I think he is too. But
I tell her.
No.
When you're married, is he married?
He is married.
Okay, well, you can't have more than one old lady, so you can have as many motorcycles
what
as
it
you
is?
want.
Yeah,
All right.
that's
I've been trying that with cars. My problem is I buy and sell cars so often that I can't keep a car. I think we started talking one time about a truck I had. I had an old Chevy truck, and I sent you a picture of, hey, if you need a truck for a picture, and you're like, yeah, I got one of those. And I've owned like 6 trucks since then.
Yeah, I bought that one I have, and I've had it. I'll never get rid of that truck.
No?
We got our wedding pictures of that truck, and
God bless you, dude.
I'll never sell it. I've had people have walked up to me and offered me $7,000 or $8,000 for it as it sets, and I'm just like, nah, it ain't for sale.
Right. Well, I'm so appreciative of people like that, because I can't just hang on to something. I gotta go to the next.
That's why you just gotta get a bigger barn.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
We moved out here a year ago. Previously we lived on 3 acres out on State Road 3, and or on 26, and I had a barn and acreage and a garage and space to store stuff. And when we moved from there, I call it the great giveaway of 2019. Is I literally I sat in a chair. I'd been in a car accident during the move, so we had already bought a house in Muncie, and I was doing some rehab work on it. I was working in Muncie, and we had already sold the house. I ended up in a rollover accident, and I sat in a chair that the girls had bought me for my school, and just sat there while my nephews were loading stuff up. And they go, "What about this? Do you want it?" "Yeah, take it." "What about this? Do you want it?" "Yeah, take it." "What about this?" Put that one on the truck. I want that one." "What about this?" "Take it." And Jennifer's inside doing the same thing with her sisters. And
you just don't realize how much shit you accumulate when you live
crap,
someplace for
man.
very long.
We went from a 3,000 square foot house and acreage to a 900 square foot house in Muncie. It's like a transition home, and with a 1-car garage.
Oh,
It's
boy.
not much bigger than this room. Like a 1-car garage from the 30s, like your grandpa's garages would have been, these small 1-car garages. And just gave everything away. I was kind of done. And then I've started, picking some stuff out. You guys are looking around the room. This is stuff that matters. These memories, these pictures.
Mm-hmm.
These are the things that really matter to me. And I've kind of placed them in here of where they're important to me, and always looking ahead at my family, my girls, and everything. And the other parts, the trucks and motorcycles I've had, they're cool. I've enjoyed them. Being in a band, it was cool. I enjoyed it. Being a DJ, cool, enjoyed it. Being a teacher, absolutely loved it. But they're just part of my life journey, And I think about, I have always tried to look upon people as just a person, and thinking about your family and how much respect. And I wasn't afraid of your grandpa because of anything other than I'm a little kid and I respected that old man.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah. But
maybe
that was different though. When we were kids, you were raised that way.
100%. So I don't know. I don't even know if fear is the right thing. I wasn't afraid.
No, you were just
I respected him to the point to where
respectfully distant.
that's it, you know? And then I never knew your dad. I didn't know Blackie, and I didn't know. I met Lex years later, and you were talking about my ZX10, and I was across the street from Rob Knuckles' house when he was living with Judy, and
Oh, okay, yeah.
I just started dating Jennifer, my wife Jennifer, and I hadn't met Rob yet. I knew who he was. I hadn't met him, but I was across the street of a friend of mine's house, and he was polishing a frame on a ZX7 I had. So at that time, I had a ZX7, a ZX6, and a ZX10, and I pull up with two of my buddies. One of them has a green ZX9. I've got my ZX10, and another guy, Andy, had a like a 750 GSXR that was like purple and gray, and it's the 90s, and mine was black and red with skulls, and like it looked like what it was, and a badass bike. I mean, that thing was evil. There was something different about it, and so Rob and Lex are getting ready to go on a ride. And Rob pulls up at the end of the drive, and he walks across the street, and he says, "Hey, you the one that's dating my little sister?" And I'm like, "Oh God, I'm gonna die
I can
today.
see him doing that straight up face
I'm
too,
gonna die.
man.
I'm gonna die. This is when I die." And I said, "Yep." He goes, "I'm her big brother Rob, and they call me Nuck and all this stuff." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know who you are." And he's like, "Which one of these rice burners is yours?" You figure it out. So he looks at it and he goes, "Better not be that purple and pink one." And that's not looking green one. It better be the black one. And I said, "That's it." And I swear to God, Jeremy, and he'll argue this to this day, I know he was about to get on it.
I don't buy that for $1.
He was about to
I
get
don't
on
buy it for
He
$1.
grabbed, left hand, grabs the handlebar, and I swear his right foot came off the
No,
ground.
I don't believe it.
Come on now.
I don't believe you.
I was there.
You were there. I know Rob
saw
Knuckles,
it.
dude. I'm telling you right now.
Lex says, "Rob, if you get on that thing, yours will never run right again." And he goes, "I wasn't getting on that piece of shit, and all rough and gruff." He never got on it.
That's the Harley guys. That's one thing I'm obviously I do custom motorcycles, right? And
Yeah.
most of my stuff's all Harley based. But the whole Harley biker mystique thing, it cracks me up. I'm like, Jesus. So you're gonna have a bad mustache and chew a cigar and be overweight, and every time you go to a poker run, you're gonna open the bar door like you're trying to tear the fucking thing off the building. You know what I mean? It's like, what the hell?
That's
I
it.
don't understand it.
Yeah, and
I've never understood it.
half the guys on that poker run are teachers and doctors and lawyers, and
Well, here's the thing. I've always said, if you're on two
Supervisors.
wheels and if you're on two wheels, you're riding it, you're having fun, you're loving it. Fucking A, man. That's right. That's what we all should. That's what we're doing.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And just because you're on a Honda or a Harley, a Yamaha, a Triumph, or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's about all of us having the love for riding, right?
That's right.
But you always got those Harley guys. They're like, and what's crazy is when you get a real ignorant one, and they say, "Hey, man, yeah, I ride a Harley. I don't fuck with that Jap shit." Okay, half the shit on that thing is made overseas, bub.
Yeah.
I've even
I
pointed
like
it out
that
to
it's
him.
coming out from you, not from me.
Yeah, dude, I know. I deal with it all the time. Makuni is a Makuni carburetor is not made in the United States of America. Okay.
It sounds different coming from me. So I'm just glad that I have someone here that is respected in the industry that can let us all know. But that's okay. And even then, why? What is it? Is it a big deal?
What's that?
The American-made piece of it.
Oh, I think it used to be, but I don't think it is anymore. I mean, the guys, Harley has like monopolized the market for motorcycles, right? They've done marketing, and Harley isn't afraid, like their PDF for their logo or whatever It's open. You can use it whenever you want.
I did not know
Yeah,
that.
they'll let you use it for whatever you put our logo on whatever the hell you want to. I don't care. Why wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
You know, and Indians making a comeback, but it's Polaris bought it. You know what I
Right.
mean? And they did away with their Victory line, which the Victory line was a great motorcycle.
Yeah.
But you look at when Harley was wanting to do stuff and go overseas and build the bikes and bring them back, Trump said you're going to pay the taxes like everybody else to bring them back in, and they didn't go.
Right.
But back in the day, I remember when I was a kid, Harleys. You didn't go in a Harley shop and see a floor of Harley Davidsons.
Right.
There might be one or two, because Harley only made so many model of each model, and they shut the line off, which kept the value of the motorcycle high. Well, then they've opened them. They built them in Milwaukee, then they built them in Pennsylvania, and they built them in Missouri. The Missouri plant, I think, is closed now, but they literally flooded the market. I mean, you can go buy a '06 Street Glide for $6,000,
All day.
and that was unheard of.
Right.
I remember seeing the lotteries where guys would go, Jim Bailey's or Griff's Harley Davidson in Fort Wayne. They would have a new Harley come in, and the guys would say, "Hey, you're on this list," and they'd hand out tickets, like raffle tickets, and there'd be 100 people there, and they'd draw a number, and if that was your number, you got that bike. You're the one that could buy the bike, and they just had a lottery for them. So I don't think anymore. I really don't feel like the American-made part of it is, because they can't speak to it.
Right. It's still an American icon.
It's American, and always will be.
And always will be. 100%.
But it's not nothing. They can't speak to the fact that, you know, an Indian, a Polaris Indian, is like 90% made in the United States, and they'll tell you that.
Right.
Harley Davidson won't tell you that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
It's really interesting. So how do you end up starting Joker Cycle? I'm having
Joker Cycle Works.
I'm having speech problems today. You know, and before it's all done, I'll be calling you Germany. You know,
That's fine. No, I literally bought a 83 wide glide when I was 19 years old, and I had a shop that I would go get my work done at, and I was a young kid, 19, and my daughter was born. I had kids young, you know, my daughter was a baby, and the maintenance bills, it was an 83 shovel head, and I didn't know anything about it, how to adjust the valves or anything. So basically, I can't keep paying $300, $400, $500 every time this thing goes in the shop. So I started teaching myself on how to work on it. And then I got to the point where you'd get in catalogs, whether it was J&P Cycles or Fog Hollow, and you'd find the custom, quote, custom parts that are just factory made.
right.
Just to change the air cleaner and stuff up. And then I just got to the point where I was like, I just really don't want you to be able to go buy the part for your bike. When you see it on my bike and you say, "Hey, where'd you get that at?" I don't want you to be able to go buy it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I just got tired of. I could buy a wide glide and put all this stuff, aftermarket stuff on it, but as long as you had a credit card, you could make your bike look just like mine. And some of it was out of necessity. I didn't have the money to buy all that stuff. So I would just started making my own parts, and then I started servicing my bike, and then slowly started servicing other people's bikes and doing some custom stuff. And in '06, I opened the shop and just went on from there.
Was your dad a bike mechanic?
Oh yeah, Dad wrenched on everything.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, he had that panhead that he rode everywhere, and that thing was loud as hell. It was loud.
God, man.
I actually looked for that bike for like 5 years.
No luck.
After Dad passed away in '92.
Okay.
Dad passed away in '92. My uncle got the bike. It was supposed to be left to me. Uncle Bill got sick with cancer, and he sold the bike to pay for his own funeral. And usually everybody, you know, I've had people say, are you mad you didn't get your dad's bike? How do you be mad at a guy for that?
Right.
I mean, so he sold it to Rick Tucker, actually, from Hartford here.
Okay.
And then Rick sold it to Gary Townsend.
Okay.
And then Gary Townsend sold it to somebody else. And I actually finally tracked it down. I used the internet. I had the VIN number, so I looked it up. I ended up tracking it down. It's all the way back in Europe. and you know how it wasn't all chopped out and everything. A guy totally restored it, made it look like it was supposed to from the factory, and we emailed back and forth, and he was like, "I'll sell it to you, you know, for this much money." And I was like, "Listen," I said, "It's not what it was for me now,
Right. Right.
so I really don't have any desire to. I can't take it and cut it up, you know. So
Yeah.
I mean, you could, but that would, to me, if I was to find a barn find bike that's like a 47 knucklehead, as much as I would love to build a chopper out of it, you just don't cut that stuff up.
Right.
That's history.
Right.
So I just, when I built my panhead, I built it. My dad was born in '56, so I bought a '56 panhead engine and built because it was the same year he was born.
Yep. I like it.
But yeah, Dad wrenched on everything down there. He actually had a little shop in the big house for a while, and the city shut that down pretty quick.
Really?
Yeah,
I wasn't aware of that.
wasn't home for business.
In the world, just
What's that?
do you think it was just because it was, anyway, got my own thoughts there.
They just didn't want it
They
there.
didn't want it happening. Yeah.
Goldberg can pile up crap
Oh,
across the
God.
street for years.
Hey, you know what? And I'll say this. I think Alan's boys, Scott and Lou, and I don't know Lou. I knew Scott and we knew Chad, but they've done a great job of cleaning that up.
Oh, it looks real
and
nice now, yeah.
It looks like a professional. It looks they've done a nice job. They've done everything that's been asked of them and more, I think. And
Before they tore Grandpa's house down, I went down there. They had all the windows out of it. The doors were locked. You couldn't go in it, but all the windows were out of it. So I just stepped through the wall
yeah,
and I walked around the house for a little bit, before they tore it down.
yeah,
And there was actually a hexagon, like, wall temperature. Like, you hang it on your wall, tell you what temperature was in a room.
yeah.
And I actually, it was still hanging there, so I took it and I have it in my shop now.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Do you hear him breaking up?
am I breaking up?
You just got really loud.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wonder if something's going on there. Am I too loud?
No, you're fine.
Okay. I kind of did the same thing when my dad was getting ready to sell his property to him. Just went down there and there was a couple little things here and there and just grabbed them. Still got them here with me, and they're in boxes. I've
Still
moved
got
so
'em,
many
though.
damn times. One thing I do have, and it's kind of the one thing that came out of when my dad passed. Sold everything at auction. There were a number of items that I ended up getting, but one of the big ones was this bench grinder that belonged to my grandpa Fox, and it had been on his bench. I didn't realize how long he had owned it until I started going through pictures. So I've got all the pictures as well, and I started going through all these photographs from my dad's family, my mom's family, my grandma's family, because my dad got all my grandma's stuff. And there's a picture of my grandpa Fox with his bench grinder pulling it out of the box, a Craftsman bench grinder, Christmas 1958.
So it's electric, or was
It's
it?
electric, man. Still works. It's downstairs in my garage now. And that's one of those things where I've got that picture. I'm going to have the picture blown up and hanging it on my garage wall. Kind of the same thing. It's like I probably will use it twice in my life, because it's rare that I do anything, that creative
Right.
anymore. Wood, I can do stuff with wood, making stupid little benches and, working on the house and stuff. But it's rare that I get anything metal out and work with it anymore. But at
My
least I
grandpa
got
had
it.
one of those ones in his shop that you would actually crank by hand,
Oh, man.
and you crank it.
That's
So when I was
legit.
little, I would go in there and I'd just crank it as fast as I could get it going.
Yeah.
Remember one day he looked at me and he said, "Hey," he goes, "You like cranking that thing?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Okay." You know my grandfather, right?
Yeah.
So he goes and gets every axe, hatchet, and made me sit there and hand crank that thing as he sharpened every tool he had, and I never touched that fucking thing
That's
after that.
exactly right. And I went and bought an electric one as soon as I could. So we got Joker Cycle Works, and you've gained some recognition. It's grown a little bit, right?
Yeah, it
Starts
has.
out and
Yeah.
so when was that? And I got some questions about that too. Did you start seeing some? Did you start seeing a lot more interest in the custom motorcycle world? It became really big in the early 2000s with Jesse James and OCC and Indian Larry popping up and the biker build off stuff. Did you see that happening?
I seen it happening, but I was really not super hot in the industry right then. You know
Okay.
what I mean? I came like just on the tail end of that when I decided to do my shop. I mean, some of the builders you're talking about are like Indian Larry. He's like God in the motorcycle industry,
Absolutely.
right? I mean, stuff he
And I
does.
hate lumping him in with those guys because I know better.
No, it's. I
I
mean,
get it, but
it is what it is. I mean,
yeah,
he built beautiful motorcycles. I mean, Jesse James, a talented guy. Um, you know, Billy Lane from Choppers Inc.
yeah,
He was a huge inspiration of mine just for the simple fact that I always took what I had to make it work. And not everybody's, oh, that's a death trap. Like, that's not safe. You can't do that, right? But Billy did that. He done it, and it worked, and it was safe, and it worked, you know? So he was always kind of an inspiration. But the chopper scene, I got in right at the tail end of it. And then I focused a lot on service. But I spent so much time doing service work, I couldn't do custom work because I always had a full time job and did that.
gotcha. And you still work a full time job now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is your side hustle, and any hopes to make it a full time thing, or
There's always hopes to it,
yeah,
you know, but there's always, you know, when I was younger, I had to be
yep.
dad duty before all duty.
I
I had to have
believe that.
insurance. I had to, you know, I had to make sure. Now my kids are raised. I got 3 grandsons now, and literally, I have a good. I work where I work. I have a good gig. It's a good setup for me. It's close to home. You
Yep.
know, it provides us a lifestyle that we don't have. Makes things easier.
Sure.
I probably could do it full time now, if I wanted to change some things, but um, it's all in what you want to do. You know what I mean? It's kind of hard to just leave what you know,
Yeah.
and just go to nothing and say, okay, this is
Right.
what I'm doing. Especially, I mean, your program coming through high school. Okay, you're going to graduate, you go to college, or you're going to get a job. Well, at least we went to school when there was trades in school, right? They don't
That's
even
right.
have that anymore. They do now,
Right.
but they didn't for 10 years,
They
15
didn't.
years. So I took all the electrical classes, all those things, and got into the maintenance work and that, you know, maintaining equipment, rebuilding equipment, things like that. Which I learned to work, learned to weld from old school guys I worked with. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't go to school
Yeah.
for it. They taught me how to do it. You know, um, always been mechanically inclined,
Yeah.
but never really had any formal education on welding other than what I've taught myself and looked up myself. And I have a friend of mine that's a school teacher down in Bloomington that if I have what he is a welding teacher. So if I have issues with something, I can get with him, and he kind of points me in a certain direction. You know.
So still just seeking out somebody else. I mean, like we all do. I don't know how to do it. I'm gonna call my brother, or call someone who would have that. So you've gotten some good recognition. I've seen a few of your bikes from afar. I haven't got to see any up close, and I think TQ has one.
He's got a couple of them.
Does he?
Yeah.
Okay. I knew he had the one. I didn't know if he had any more. So, but I don't think I've still seen them in person. But get to watch them online and through your social media. You've been to a few shows.
Yeah, quite a few.
Yeah.
Yeah, and anymore it seems like I'm part of a circus, traveling circus.
Well, I watched an online video. It's like 4 minutes long of you talking to s- um some magazine or something. I can't remember what it was now. Dang it! And I'm sure it's not the only one out there.
Cycle Source, was it Cycle Source
Yeah, it
magazine?
was because you were talking about it's your green bike. Why so serious?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, talk about that a little bit. How'd that come about?
Well, that bike was one I. Okay, so like ninth grade, I was in school at DeKalb High School, and DeKalb High School, I was in Mr. Myers' homeroom class, and he caught me with an Easy Rider magazine. He caught me looking at Easy Rider magazine, and there was this bike in there, and it was called Frankenstein, and it had it was a shovel head bottom, knuckle head rear cylinder, pan head front cylinder, and it had Boris Carlyle's Frankenstein painted on it with a Sugar Bear Springer front end, and I was like, man, that thing is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. So after class, he held me over, and he's like, hey, I need to talk to you about what you're looking at. And I was like, okay. He goes, you can't be looking at dirty magazines in class, right? I was like, yeah, I don't care about the girl. He goes, excuse me? So I get the magazine out. I'm like, look at this bike. Like, this isn't supposed to work. Like, this engine doesn't work like this, you know? And he just looks at me and goes, are you kidding me right now? Like, you're really looking at the motorcycles? I was like, absolutely. I said, these are just tits, you know? And I always said if I ever had the means to build a Frankenstein style motorcycle, I would build one. And so, long story short, found an engine. Already had the magneto on it. Bottom end was rebuilt. I called a friend of mine and told him what I wanted to do, and he pointed me to Stag Van Hines in California, in LA. So I called Stag. We talked on the phone a few times. Stag's a super nice guy. He actually worked with Indian Larry in the early years. So I created the engine up and I sent it to California. And he got the heads and get everything lined out for me and sent the engine back. And then I did the shovel head bottom end, shovel head front cylinder, pan head rear cylinder. And I actually put a 6-speed transmission in it with electric start so you can ride it on the highway.
Mm-hmm.
And my favorite color is green. So that's what I did. And I built it and I still have it. And we ride it all the time. Me and her ride it. When we go to Sturgis, we ride it everywhere.
Is that the signature bike?
I don't know if I have a signature bike really.
Yeah.
I would say my signature style is like bobber.
Yeah.
Bobber style is probably my most signature style of bike. Bobber. I don't build a lot of super long bikes. The bobber is probably like my favorite because of the rideability, the way they handle. I'm probably known more for bobbers than anything.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I would say that one's my bike. I actually sold it when I first built it, and the guy didn't follow through, so I bought it back, and I told her I'm not selling it now.
It's your favorite.
By far. By far my favorite. And the thing is, it never... So I had that bike in... I don't know how many different shows. And never won anything. Ever. Never placed. Never looked at it. We actually did a photo shoot in Sturgis, South Dakota. And Don Cates is a photographer. Very well-known photographer. And I called him. I said, hey, do you have a place I can unload this bike easily? And he's like, I'll bring it in my truck. And he's like, no, man, I don't. So I said, okay, we'll ride it. So we put her on the back. We ride over there. We come pulling in. And there's one guy leaving with a model and a big wheel bagger for his photo shoot. He looks at me and shakes his head. And he's like, Jeremy, I've been doing this 30 years. And nobody's ever rode their bike to a photo shoot, ever. I said, well, let it cool off. I'll clean it up and we'll get the pictures done, right? So we go over there to do the photo shoot, leave. He goes, where are you going? I said, we're going to ride it over to Deadwood, which is another 30 miles. And it just floored him. Totally dumbfounded that we're actually going to ride it like that. So it is by far my favorite bike, but it's also one of those things. I got a lot of favorite bikes. And they all mean a little something because you get to put a lot of time in that.
Sure, absolutely.
You know, there's a shit ton of time that goes into, and this is going to sound stupid for most people, but I'll put a bike frame on a lift, on blocks, open a beer, and just walk around the lift.
Mm-hmm. I get it.
I just walk around it. I'll talk to it.
I like it.
She's laughing because
I like it.
But when I'm in build mode, as fun as it is, it's a double-edged sword for me because I don't fucking sleep right.
Mm-hmm.
No, you wake up at 3 a.m. and say, I gotta measure this.
Yeah.
I gotta see if this will fit.
It's the creative.
Yeah.
It's the creative.
Yeah, like I'll get up and go out and measure it and come back in and draw it on a piece of paper and make a note by my bed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's stories out there of a lot of artists, and the one that comes to mind right now is Corey Taylor from Slipknot talks about how he keeps a notebook and like a recording device next to his bed so that when he has those 3 a.m. moments that he can just do it and not have to think about it. His guitar's there. He's got a mic, like something to record with right there, so that when he wakes up out of that dream or wakes up, or I wake up as an educator and as a principal, there's an art form to that as well. And I would lose sleep over the things that were going on. And it's at 2 a.m. Your mind is working. You wake up and you're like, son of a bitch. That's it right there. And you got to do it then. Because if you go, oh, okay, I'm going to go back to sleep now, it's gone.
Well, yeah, music's a huge part of my life too. Like
Yeah.
I do some acoustic stuff with a friend of mine, Tom. We play together and we have a great time with it. It's a good outlet. I don't get to devote as much time to it as I should or as I want to.
Sure.
Um, but no, the bike thing is, it's like anything. Like anybody that wants to do it can do it, but you can do it and it looks right or it doesn't look right.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had guys come to me and they go, "Hey man, I built my bike. I want you to tell me what you think." I'm like, "All right, let's go check it out." And I'll go out and look at it, and we might have some shoddy craftsmanship on some stuff, but I mean, not everybody has the accessibility of the tools they need to do it, right? So I say, "Hey man, before I tell you what I think, let me ask you a couple questions." And they say, "What's that?" I said, "Did you build this yourself?" "Yep." "Did you do the best you could to the best of your ability with the tools you had at hand?" "Yep." "Do you love riding it?" "Fucking love riding it, man." It doesn't matter what the fuck I think then.
Exactly it.
It doesn't matter what I think. If you're in love with it, it don't matter.
Isn't that kind of like we were talking earlier, and I had a podcast with some friends, and I'm talking about how one of the mics just didn't come out right, and I'm like trying to figure this thing out, trying to bring the volume up of this guest, and it was Darren and Jennifer. That episode probably be 2 weeks ago by the time this airs, but I couldn't get the volume right, and it drove me nuts. So I just sat on it. Finally, I'm like, you know what? With what I had at the time, with what my knowledge of what I'm doing in here, it's the best thing I've got. And if that ain't good enough, I don't need that listener. I'm okay with that.
That's the way it should be, though, right? I mean,
Should be
the more real it is, the better. In my opinion, the more real it is, the better it is, right?
100%, 100%.
I mean, okay, we'll talk about custom bikes. I mean, you can have the shittiest welds on everything. A good paint guy can make that shit look good.
Yeah.
That's
Hey
a
man,
fact.
a little
Okay.
bit of Bondo and a grinder, brother, do wonders.
I know a guy. I won't say his name, but I know a guy that used to go to the shows in Columbus, Ohio, all the time, and he had a pan head, he had a knucklehead, and the engines didn't even have internals.
Oh wow.
So some of the knuckleheads you would see in Easy Rider magazine or whatever magazine, Iron Horse magazine or whatever,
Sure.
it would be the same engine he had 2 years ago on a different bike. But nobody knew that. Okay. Now fast forward to like nowadays, like Chris Callan and Heather from Cycle Source, they'll do a photo. If you get selected by them to have your bike shot, you have to do riding shots.
Really?
Yeah, you have to
Man,
do
I
riding
respect
shots.
that.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
And I mean, listen, it separates the men from the boys. You can make it.
That's true.
A lot of people can make it look pretty, but can it function and go down the road?
Yeah.
And Chris is big on that.
Now, I was going to ask you. I'm glad you said that because I was thinking about that earlier when you were talking about 30 years. I've never had somebody ride a bike into a photo shoot, and I'm like, man, you hear stories about how they're trailer queens or whatever that can't be ridden, can't be driven, and used to watch all the shows, rides and Pimp My Ride and all that crap. And they would talk about how these cars would look really good on TV, but they weren't functional at all. You couldn't even drive them. And I wondered if I guess I've assumed in the bike world that that's happening as well.
Oh, absolutely. We were down at Tennessee Motorcycle Music Revival down at Loretta Lynn's place. BC Moto, Bill Dodge puts on the BC Moto Invitational there. It's an awesome event, great event, live music. Her property is gorgeous.
Oh yeah.
And we were actually had got an ice cream cone and we were eating ice cream and our bike was the Why So Serious bike was sitting outside the builder's pavilion. And there's like 3 or 4 guys over there looking at it. And this guy goes, "This is bullshit. There ain't no fucking way this thing fucking runs. It don't run like this." And she's getting mad.
I'm like, I'm ditching this ice cream. Let's go for a ride right now.
Whop.
He's like, no, just wait a minute.
Just let him go.
I'm gonna give this thing a tune-up right here.
Yeah, I'm like, fire it up.
So I just let it go and kept eating my ice cream. And I walk over, I go, "What's up, man?" He goes, "Oh man, this bike is it's a beautiful bike." He said, "There ain't no way it runs." I said, "Oh, it runs. It runs good." And he's like, "Let me guess, you're the guy that built it." And I said, "Yep." And it runs. It runs just fine, you know. So you're always gonna have those haters. If you watch any of the videos I do when I build a bike, like I did that the last the one bike I built, Velvet Hammer. I let Randy name the bike. If you look on my Instagram and on my Facebook, I told Randy that I'd build a bike for his show and unveil it at his show in St. Louis. And I told him he was going to name the bike when I got there. I was just going to build it. He was going to name it, right? So he named it the Velvet Hammer after a blues player over there. I can't remember his name. It'll come to me. But anyways, it was his nickname. And when we started doing that bike, I was building all this. I told him I was going to document as much of it as I could on social media, and I was going to do a YouTube video of it. But
I remember that.
I never got around to that. It's only been a couple years ago, maybe a year and a half ago. And I said, I always say this because there's always one guy on social media who knows more than any fucking body else, who's just the best fucking builder in the world, and you've never heard his fucking name or seen anything he's done, right? So I like taking a Paco 4-speed frame, and I like modifying it to fit a 5 or 6-speed transmission. Yes, I can build frames. I build my own frames, but here's the thing. If I'm building the bike to sell, I know I'm selling it. If I build a whole frame from scratch, that's a shit ton of time.
Right.
Okay?
Time is money.
Yeah, right. So I did the modification on the frame, and I said it in that video, and I say it in a lot of videos. There's always going to be one guy that says, "Oh, you shouldn't have heated that with the torch, and beat it in with the hammer and polished it out because now structurally," and he is right. You've changed the molecular structure of the metal.
Sure.
Right. You should have cut it out and welded a piece in because the welding heat didn't change the molecular structure of the metal, but my torch did. Right.
Right. Absolutely.
So you always have those guys, and a lot of times I just tell them, "Listen, man," or if I'm TIG welding and there's a gas can like in the picture somewhere,
right?
It's fucking empty. Okay, it's been empty, sitting in there since fall. Okay, but because, oh yeah, you're out there welding with a gas can there. Well, you obviously don't know anything about TIG welding. Okay, there's no sparks. I don't have to worry about that shit, right? There's always one guy. There's always one guy.
Right. I've been watching videos on like the TikTok videos and stuff, and then you read through the comments. It's exhausting. It's exhausting.
I don't even read them. I don't even read them. When I
Good for
post
you.
stuff, I don't even read comments.
Yeah.
I'll look at likes sometimes, but very seldom. Like, I never, like, you met my wife today. How many times have you seen her on my social media?
Exactly.
Because it's not for that.
Right.
If it wasn't for my shop, I wouldn't have social media. Right. I really wouldn't. So, like, literally, for me, it's one of those situational things. I don't post pictures of my kids, my grandkids, because you know what? That's mine.
Yeah.
It's not for me to share.
I like it.
And that's maybe it's my age, the old school way of thinking. I don't need you to know what my grandkids look like or what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know? So like when you look at what we do with our bike stuff, I post to Instagram, Facebook, and my personal Facebook page. And I literally do that, and I don't go back to it. Very seldom do I go back to it, ever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I don't care. I've been doing this for almost 20 years. Custom bikes for, what is this, almost 20 years, 17 years. Okay? Every bike I've ever built runs. Every bike I've ever built rides. I've never been sued.
Don't jinx yourself.
I'm knocking on wood right now, folks. But, you know, I mean, I haven't had any issues.
Right.
You know what I mean? So,
you know what you're doing.
I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And listen, because I'm not going to let somebody who's in Fairbanks, Alaska, tell me, or, you know, Australia, tell me that I should do it this way. As a chopper, there are no fucking rules.
That's exactly it.
The sissy bar on West.
Oh my God, dude. And you know what? It's always a fat dude that rides a bagger that has to talk shit about my choppers. Oh, that's sissy bar.
You just lost one follower.
Sorry.
It's just, seriously, they'll look at the bike and I'll put a nice tight sissy bar on it that goes up to a point. Oh, hon, you better hope he doesn't hit a bump.
Oh my God.
It's not our first fucking day, brother. Okay.
Yeah.
Like we've been riding this
I like
thing.
to be close to you. It's all right.
That's it.
I snug
That's
up.
it.
But yeah, there's always those comments though.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, and everybody's entitled to their opinion. Okay.
Yeah.
Just don't be offended if I don't respond to your opinion.
Yeah. No, you know what though? I think there's a lot of there's a lot of people out there that are they're armchair quarterbacks. They're armchair welders in your case, and bike builders. But boy, it's different when it's yours and you're hands on with it, and that you do care about the outcome of it. These
I
are
build all
bikes.
mine. I build every bike I build like it is going to be mine.
That's exactly what I'm getting from what I've watched you do over the past decade or so. When I've kind of seen what was happening, and from what just our history, knowing where you come from, and there's a huge difference between I'm gonna go ride this. I want to build a bike I want to go ride versus I want to build a bike that's gonna look good on camera. And listen, I'm not
There's
hating
nothing
on.
wrong with the art of it.
Yep,
So,
absolutely.
I know a lot of
It's art.
I know builders all over this country. Then I'm friends with a lot of guys. And when I say friends, okay, this is a Grandpa Valentine moment for me right here, right? Because Grandpa Valentine always told me when I'm 80 years old, if I have 10 friends on two hands, I'm a lucky man.
That's exactly right.
And when I say friends, I mean friends that you can trust with your money, your wife, your kids,
Right.
your dog. You know what I mean? That kind of shit. And if everybody really thinks about it, they don't have more than 10.
It's rare, and it should be that way. There should be a small circle of people that you like, trust, and respect, and love to that level of, yep, I trust you with my life.
So,
And
like, I have a huge network of friends in the industry and stuff like that.
acquaintances is what I call them. These are acquaintances. I
They're
got a
my
lot of
motorcycle friends and my motorcycle family. They're friendly acquaintances, you know. They don't. I have maybe a handful I talk to at Thanksgiving and Christmas. Okay, I respect all of them.
Yeah,
Some of them are show bike builders, and some of them are show bike builders that you can ride. There's nothing wrong with the show bike builders that build
absolutely.
show bikes. There's nothing wrong with that.
I get it.
Nothing wrong with the art of it. Okay, I respect um, all builders that build. I won't say any names, but I know there's certain things as a builder I can look at a bike and say that doesn't function for everyday use. There's no fucking way. But that's okay.
Right.
It might be on cover of every magazine in the country, and good for him. But I'm also the type of guy that I don't want to see. I've been to shows where people get pissed off because they didn't win. I went to a lot of shows for a lot of years. I never won anything.
Right.
Okay. First show I ever won anything major was Columbus Easy Rider Show 2010. And I literally walked in with my bike. Dude walked up with a sock hat and sunglasses on. And he's like, hey man, that's a really cool bike. I'm like, yeah man, thanks. Completely blew him off. Like, fuck off, dude. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's what I'm thinking in my head. Like, I don't know who you are. Hey man, thanks a lot, whatever. So I go walk in, get my ticket, put the bike where it's supposed to go. Walking through the show, I walk up by the photo shoot booth. The little guy I blew off was Michael Lichter. Like the motorcycle photographer in the whole world, and I completely was just like, yeah, whatever, dude. Blew him off. And I went and apologized to him. I was like, man, I'm sorry, I didn't know who you were. And he's like, oh no, man, I get it. And Michael's the most genuine, sweetest guy ever.
Yeah.
He he is a super nice guy. He's probably shot 8 of my bikes for different magazines. And he shot pictures of her and I before it shows and stuff. But we just had that last bike we built. I built for his last bike exhibit in Sturgis. The motorcycles his art exhibit. I built that for his, and it put the 56 pan head in there. And it actually was published in a.
Japan.
Yeah, it was in Japan. It wasn't even a magazine.
I don't know.
I can't remember the name of the magazine now.
You bought like 10 of them.
I did. I think I bought 4. But you couldn't buy them here, right? And if you
Right.
have you ever looked at a Japanese magazine?
No.
Okay, so when you look at a Japanese American magazine, you get the magazine, right? And you fold it left, left, left,
Yeah.
right? Japanese magazine goes right, 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 and you read down, and it's not like the sentence is like ours because they read up and down like this.
Oh, that's interesting.
So I mean, there's a picture of my bike. There's 6 pages of my bike, her and I's in the magazine. I can't read a damn thing. I don't know what any of it says, but it is super cool. Club Harley magazine out of
Okay.
Japan, and I actually got a hold of a guy on to find it. I got a hold of a guy on eBay that had some of those magazines, and I told him who I was and what I was looking for, and he found them over there and shipped them to me.
That's awesome.
So that was pretty cool. But that's I built a bike. I built one of my builds. The second build I built and I sent it to Juneau, Alaska. The guy called me. He had to have it, bought it, and there's like 90 miles of road in Juneau, Alaska.
Right.
Like he rides the same roads. He sent me a picture of it in Glacier National Park, which is super cool.
Wow.
Then I built a bike and I sent it to Indonesia. And that's the furthest one I know that
That's
I've
what I was
built.
getting ready to ask. Is Juneau the furthest? But evidently
No,
Indonesia.
Indonesia's the furthest. But
Wow.
you know, I
Are these
usually
people that reach out to you because they see what's going on, or
normally I just like to build them. I like to build them and then sell them.
so none of them have you done any like, hey, I want this bikes?
Yeah, I mean,
How's that feel? I wonder I always wonder how that feels. And I have a friend of mine, Eric Fagan, who paints a lot of artwork, and I always wondered where in the creative process do you finally say, I'll do that, but I'm gonna do it my way. Yeah.
I ask for a lot of a shit ton of creative freedom,
Yeah.
but I also say there's certain things I will not do.
If you don't feel it, you won't build it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's just the way it is. If the I am a huge non-fan of yellow anything.
Okay.
Okay,
I like it.
I think it looks good on Corvettes and Hulk Hogan's T-shirts.
There it is.
That's
There
it.
it
I
is,
don't think it
man.
looks
Say
good
your
on
prayers.
anything else.
Eat your vitamins.
Yeah,
Just
that's right.
do it
I
on
don't think it looks good on
motorcycles.
anything else. I'm a Green Bay Packers fan and don't like yellow.
I'm sorry to hear that.
But no, it's like every time I get Green Bay stuff, I'm always like, it has to be green or black. Like I don't wear the yellow shirts or anything like that. But no, I get what they want, you know. Like
Sure.
I'll talk to them about what they want, and if it's something that I'm vibing on, we'll do it. Um, I just think I do the best work when I build what I want to build in my head. Tell me what color you want it, except yellow.
Except yellow. Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of burgundy.
Okay.
I built
But
them,
you've done some.
and they turn out beautiful. Everybody loves them, but
They are. It's a beautiful color.
I hate that color.
Do you?
I don't like
That's
burgundy.
interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
Or Ford's Fire Bronze Metallic. Not a fan.
I don't know what that one is.
It's on all the new. It's on all the new 6.7 diesels, but I mean, it's not. It's not like it's a huge. I can take it or leave it. I mean, I love black, but I also feel like the world doesn't need another black motorcycle.
Right. Right.
You know what I
It
mean?
needs another black motorcycle. Like, we need another black T-shirt.
Don't be making fun of my black t-shirt shit.
You should see his closet.
My closet's just nothing but black t-shirts.
There's one gray one and one white one and one red one.
One blue one.
What's blue?
That twisted t-shirt I just got. And they gave it to me. I didn't buy it, by the way.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, they gave it to me at a show.
All right.
But no, like literally our show schedule is pretty intense. Like now, like I always did like I built a bike to go to Easy Riders Columbus. That was my Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And like I said, I had kids, responsibilities, didn't have vacation time, couldn't get off work to do all this shit because it takes a shit ton of time and effort. Like I take my wife to Sturgis every year for our anniversary. Now, how many guys can say their wife's cool with that?
Right.
I'm not at work and I can drink.
And ride on a
And
motorcycle.
I'm with him, so I don't really
Yeah.
care.
And go
There
see
you go.
bands, you know what I mean? So that's what we
Yeah.
do.
And
And
see our motorcycle friends.
yeah,
How
so
big does Sturgis grow during Bike Week?
It's huge.
it's huge. Last year it wasn't. I don't know. I don't think last year was as big as normal, but it was cold. It was rainy. I mean, it was the first 3 days weren't pleasant at Sturgis.
Yeah.
It was a kind of compared to the other years before we went out there, it was unpleasantly colder, I would say. Like normally we go out there and we take a blow up pool to put at the campsite so she can fill it up, and sat in the pool and listen to music and shit. I didn't even get the pool out, and she had her hoodie on most of the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Beautiful riding out there. Beautiful riding. I mean, there's some of the most. I literally remember the first time we were riding to to Mount Rushmore, and I'm kind of a history guy, right? So I went through there and I got choked up
Oh, sure.
when I seen it. I was like, holy shit, like there it is, you know? It was like intense for me. She thought I was ridiculous, but
I'm not into history.
but yeah,
It's cool, but
yeah, it is super cool. And to see it in person is just like it's breathtaking to me,
Yeah.
you know. There's a bunch of great riding out there.
How does Sturgis become the place?
Um what was his name? Pappy Knoll?
Hole. It's HOEL.
Yeah, Pappy Hole started that back years ago. And he just had this little vision of what he wanted to do,
Yeah.
and it just evolved. And he has a whole campground at the Full Throttle and stuff named after him and stuff now. But there's literally this town that grows to 400,000 people,
Right.
and it fuels their economy. Like the Full Throttle shuts down after this. After
Yep.
it's open like end of,
Yeah.
end of July through the end of August. That's literally all it's open.
Yeah.
And Don Cates was telling us like all the bars downtown, Knuckleheads is the only bar that's open.
Huh.
The Iron Horse, all that stuff just closes its doors, and it just sits there until next year. It blows my mind. I can't believe it.
Sturgis is fun, but Daytona's our favorite. Daytona's our favorite like week-long rally. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I'd say Daytona's probably our favorite one.
In March, and then
Some of that's because her uncle lives there, and we stay with him, and she gets to catch up with family, right?
we're tired of winter in Indiana, so it's nice.
Yeah.
It's March. You go down there, it's
Florida.
83 degrees, and I get a
Absolutely.
yeah.
TMMR is really fun. We go there every May. Cycle Showcase is in February, but that's like a weekend thing, and he's very into the art of it.
Randy is
It's amazing
what he does with his lighting and the way. Michael Lichter can do it, Randy can do it, Don Cates can do it, but it's kind of like they can take their light, the angle of the bike, the height of the bike on the platform, and make the bike look. You can take it out in the sun and it looks gorgeous, but the way they do it, it's like wow. Like how did they do that just with the right lighting and the right? I don't want to say the temperature of the lighting, but you know what I'm saying, like the right white light or yellow light. And Randy just has it, man. Like Randy he's got it.
Good, yeah.
He's really good at it, and he's a sound guy for bands by trade. You know what I mean?
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Interesting.
He's a big guy and a super nice guy. One of the most humblest guys you ever wanted to meet, and he's always friendly. That Why So Serious bike. We went to Indian Larry Block Party, and he was doing a cycle showcase at the Ozarks, and he wanted me to come, and I said, "Man, I've already made a commitment." I said, "I can't come." He's like, "Oh shit." He goes, "Are you going to be at the Smokeout?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "You have a bike I can take?" I said, "You can tell me which one you want. I'll let you take it." And I literally gave him the bike and went and got it 2 weeks later.
Huh.
You know what I mean? He's that kind of guy.
Yeah.
And the Smokeout they just started doing again. Last year was the first one. This year was the second one. Cycle Showcase or Cycle Source does it now, and that's really fun too. I enjoy that.
Where's that at?
That's in Salisbury, North Carolina.
Okay.
And it like Drowning Pool played there,
Okay.
right, this year.
Yeah.
So when they were doing their sound check, I walked up to Ryan McCombs. I go, "What's up, Dunkirk?" He turned around, looked at me, goes, "What's up, man?" You know what I mean?
When he was on, when he was doing promo stuff at the Bear years ago, when I think he
Soil.
was still with Soil at that time. And
He's doing both now.
is he really? Okay.
They're actually going to be. We went and seen them. We seen them at
Piers.
we seen them at the Smokeout, and then 2 weeks later, seen Drowning Pool at Pierre's, and Soil's going to be at Pierre's March 3rd.
Okay.
But we will be in Sturgis or
I'll
in
keep that in mind.
Daytona.
Yeah. I saw them at Pierre. The last time I saw them, oh no, it wasn't. It would have been at the Marat. We saw him with Seven Dust years ago. And then I don't know if I've seen him with Drowning Pool.
Dude,
I don't know if I've seen him. If I
all
did,
that voice out of a little dude, man.
it's crazy,
It's
ain't it?
insane.
So, story about him. My band, Bucket, was a cover band, and we were playing regionally, and we're playing a New Year's Eve party at Players over in Portland. And he was in a little old band called DEM.
Mm-hmm.
DEM was
Larry
freaking
was in that
amazing.
band. Larry Songer.
Really?
I think Larry Songer was in that band.
That band was awesome. DEM had a vibe. I'm getting chills. Like, look at me. I'm freaking out because, like, I love these guys. There were some bands that were playing around at the time that were really good. I mean, there was a great scene happening in Indiana in the mid '90s, and DEM was at the top of that, and nobody knew who they were. They opened for us on New Year's Eve. I didn't want to go on stage.
Wow.
I was like, those guys are fucking good. And that guy has got the it factor that I just don't have. And we go on stage and we're playing covers and we kill it. And we were a good band. I mean, we weren't terrible. We were a good band and we could rock a show out. And we brought in a lot of people that, followed us. But that guy, he had it. He had the
He
it
still
factor.
does.
Yeah, absolutely.
We just seen him. I took my 20-year-old daughter to Pierce to see him,
Man.
and
She loved it.
she was,
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and he still got it. He slays it, and the whole band did though.
So Ozfest '01, I think it was '01. Drowning Pool is on. I think they may have been the headliner that night. So I saw them Ozfest 2000. They were playing on the third stage, and I'm watching. Like I'm me to you away, uh, watching the band, making eye contact. Like it was really cool. There's probably about 25 people watching Drowning Pool that day.
Oh, one.
2000.
So Dave was singing then.
Dave was still singing. So '01, the last show he played, the last song Dave sang on stage, you know what it was? And who it was with? It was Creeping Death with Ryan McCombs.
Oh shit!
Yeah. That was the last song they played that night.
Wow.
Then he dies on his bus and the rest is history, but that was the last like I love that band. That it's top of my list, man.
Dude, I'm telling you that.
Well, not the top. Pantera's still top of the list. I'm that age, you know.
Oh, I agree,
When,
100%.
Drowning Pool comes in very close.
Yeah, she got to watch me. She's not really a metalhead,
Yeah.
so she got to. I told her when they were playing that Smoke Out. I said, There was a crowd, but not a huge crowd. I was like, I'm going up the center stage, and she's like, okay, I'll wait over here.
That's awesome.
She was watching us act like heathens, you know.
That's all right, man. That's all right. It's what it's about. It's interesting. We were talking about that. It might look like a bunch of heathens, but it's a controlled chaos. And that guy that gets knocked down next to you, the whole thing will stop to get him up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I regained faith in that. There was a time during the 2000s that I had lost a little bit of faith in the metal community.
Last show we seen with Drowning Pool, it got a little out there.
Did it?
Oh, it got a little out there.
Man,
I mean, it was they started the mosh pit started, and one guy came over and the pit was getting bigger, and I shoved him back into the pit. He turned around and I said, "Don't." I just looked at him. I said, "Don't."
Right. I mean,
So then he went and did his thing, and then this one dude, I've seen him in a lot of shows. I don't know his name, but he's
it's not the long haired guy with
no.
the goat contacts, is it? Because that
No.
guy.
But this guy, I've seen him in a lot of shows, and he has small man disease, like real bad.
Okay.
And he kept pissing with this kid beside me who was with his girlfriend. And anyways, long story short, he finally slams him with an elbow, and the kid falls. I catch him,
Man.
stand him back up, and the kid comes back to swing again. And I just put him in a full Nelson and picked him up off the ground. I'm like, knock your shit off. Chill out. He goes, let me go. I'm like, just chill.
God,
Just
I haven't
chill.
seen that. So the past few shows we've been to, I ended up in the pit during Limp Bizkit's set at Louder Than Life, and I'm 50. I knocked some dude over. Have no idea. I'm doing my thing. I'm not a swinger. Like
Yeah, but it's
my
one thing to
arms
be
ain't
in there jumping around. It's another thing to be throwing elbows and shit trying to
I
hurt
didn't
people.
see that. I haven't seen that the past few shows I've been to. And
Remember the last one we were there? That
really
kid,
happy.
it was the one guy. There's the one. I guess
Yeah.
there's always that guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had a great time. It was a
Good.
blast.
Well, that's good to know, man. Good to know, dude. We've caught up on a lot of things here. Have I missed anything? Yeah,
I don't think so.
dude. What's next? How about that? I want to know what's next. What's coming up? What are you looking forward to?
Well, right now we just bought a new house with a new shop. I'm looking forward to getting that set up. It's over twice the size of the shop I'm in now, which is going to be awesome.
We're
It's
gonna have a new build next year.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things we got in the works. There's a thing called the High Seas Rally. We've been asked if we were interested in doing. I don't know if it's going to come through or not.
Yeah.
We'll see. Um, we'll be a part of the smokeout next year. Um, we'll do all of our normal shows. I mean, we'll have um, Cycle Showcase in February, Daytona in March,
TMR in May.
TMR in May. Notice how she's my
I
publicist,
like it.
wife, secretary, and everything.
I like it.
Then we'll do after May. Then we won't do anything really till Sturgis. Maybe some local stuff, and then Sturgis. Then we'll do the smokeout. And it's pretty much 6, 7 shows a year. I mean, they're all over the country,
Yeah.
but I mean, we have fun with it. It's fun.
We're gonna have new apparel next year and a new bike next year.
Yeah, I might. I'm actually going to probably do a couple bikes. I have a Sportster that I need to do a quick little build on. Just it ain't gonna be nothing extravagant, but it'll be a cool little bobber.
Yeah.
I got another little shovel head I'm going to get together, get for sale. It's not really going to be. I'll say it's not my show quality. You know what I mean? It'll be a custom build that I've done. So after we get moved, that'll be the focus, is getting those bikes done. And then if we're going to do the high seas thing, if we get asked to do that, if it becomes official, I'll do a custom build for that. And then the high seas rally is like a custom motorcycle. No, it's not custom motorcycle. It's a motorcycle rally on a cruise ship.
Okay. I like it.
So they take like 4 or 5 builders from the country, and you go put your bikes on the put your bikes on the ship, and then you go out and you do podcasts, question and answers,
Yeah.
meet people, and I mean, just have a good time with it. And Xavier Muriel from Providence Cycle Works, used to be the drummer for Buck Cherry,
Okay.
and he's a bike builder, and he usually builds a bike that they raffle off, and it's a cool thing. You know what I mean?
Nice.
But other than that, man, like, my social media has kind of been mellow. I told her on the way down here, I said, once we get everything, the shop kind of at least half-assed set up, I need to do a post and say, I know I've been kind of quiet, but this is what's going on. We're moving, we're getting all this shit lined out.
I like it.
But we'll see what happens. It's the motorcycle industry, so it's kind of like ever changing and evolving. There's so many shows now, like Born Freeze in California, Born Freeze in Texas. Um, there's just so much. You got Moto Bolt in Chicago, and you just can't do them all.
Right.
You physically can't.
When you, man, and I know this is going a little bit different direction, but I got to know for me, when you go to these shows, what's the goal? Is the goal to get another build and sell it, or is it just a,
No, I told Kevin Sockwell, he does a podcast called The Grind on Facebook. I told him I never go to a bike show expecting to win.
yeah,
I just go to network and interact with other builders. Having people walk up to me, the butt parts from me online. That's one thing I would say. That's one thing we're looking at this next year is getting my parts line.
mm-hmm.
I have a parts line I've been working on for years that I haven't released any to sell,
Yep,
and I need more space to do that. So this new shop will help me get that lined out. But it's literally like I told Kevin, I don't ever go to the shows to win. And it caught him off guard. He goes, "Why would you not go to a show expecting to win?" And I said, "Well, if you expect to win, then you're going to be disappointed, right? Because no matter how good you are at it, there's somebody that's better. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So,
So it's all part of the learning process.
well, it's
Kind of
part
what
of it's just the networking of it, man.
Yeah.
It's you stay relevant.
yeah,
You stay relevant, right? So
yep,
if you just don't go to one thing I don't do, even if I don't win at a show, and you can ask my wife this, I never leave a show before the awards are over, ever. I think it's disrespectful.
yeah,
I think it's wrong. I think it's disrespectful. When guys are firing their bikes up to leave because they didn't win, I think it's tasteless. I think it's just completely disrespectful to the show. You know, if you built your bike because you love it and want to ride it, that's all that fucking matters.
right,
I got a whole shelf full of paperweights. Okay.
right.
Now they meant something in the day, and I was really proud of them.
Sure.
And I'm still proud of certain ones. I'm really proud of.
Yeah.
She gets on me because my biggest thing is I stay too humble about it. Guys will
Like
walk.
you said, not the same with Michael Lichter when Michael Lichter said your bike was nice. But there are people that come up and
Hey man, that's a beautiful motorcycle.
yeah,
I'm like, yeah man, thanks.
compliment
It's
it.
just a motorcycle.
And I'm
That's
like,
what I say.
don't say it's just a motorcycle because they may not have the money to do
Right.
something like that, or the means
Or the
to do
talent.
that, or the tools
Yeah.
to do it. Like they might
The vision.
yeah, they might think that's awesome, and you should.
I just have. I
recognize
think
it.
like it's fun to hang out here with you and talk like this. Like I
Yeah.
can do this all day, right? But like when I'm put on the spot,
Yeah.
I, and I would say when people dote or like dote on me or kind of like want to, I don't know, like kind of put me on their own little pedestal.
Sure.
It,
It's show admiration.
yeah, it catches me completely off guard.
I get that. I totally get that, and I think as a culture we struggle with that. We're it's ingrained in us to be like it's nothing,
Yeah.
you know, and I think that's what you're kind of doing. It's it's just what I do, you know, and I appreciate that because there are people that are like, yeah, yeah, I did that.
Listen, here's what I tell
know?
people all the time. If you think, whether you're a musician, whether you play drums, guitar, bass, or a singer, or you write books, or you build motorcycles, or you're a school teacher, I don't give a shit what it is you do. If you think you can't get better, then you are fucking kidding yourself.
It's always a growth thing, man.
But a lot of people think like nobody's better than I am. Well, okay, listen. If you're every build I do, I want to surpass the last build. Okay,
Sure.
that's my goal is to surpass the last build. And my panhead build I just did, like I've never done a flame job on a bike, like an old school flame job on a bike like that. And when I told my painter what I wanted to do, he goes, "You want to do what?" I was like, "Nobody's expecting it from me. That's why I want to do it, right?" And that bike turned out above and beyond what I expected it to be. And the next one, it I hope is better.
Right.
But I can look at every single one I've ever built and point out everything I hate about every one of them.
Sure.
But if you can't do that,
Right.
you're just kidding yourself.
It's so interesting 'cause I was talking to Erica Wyckoff a while back, and Erica Wyckoff's from Blackford County, became a LPGA golfer, and that's all her life. Like she dedicated to golf at 4 years old by her dad taking her out to golf, and she climbed that rung and became a professional golfer. She was Big Ten, you know, like she was a legit golfer, and talking to her, she's the same way. She's very humble. She works at a golf course now, and people are like, you know, she was talking about older men taking lessons, golf lessons from her. And I'm not a golfer. I go out and hit a ball around. It's terrible. It's left, right, left, right. It's military golf, but
I play zero golf, so I don't even know what military golf is.
left, right,
Yeah.
left, right.
Okay, I got you now.
I'm hitting to the left. I'm hitting to the right. You're supposed to hit right down the middle. I guess. I didn't know that until I talked to her. But anyway, but she was very humble in that, and she was talking about that admiration people would show her, and it didn't hit her until later on that I was pretty damn good.
It bothered. I'm not gonna say it bothered me. It caught me off guard when people would walk up to me and say, "Hey man, will you sign this for me at a show?" Now it doesn't happen all the time
Yeah,
because I tell people all the time, I'm infamous for doing a lot of shit I shouldn't have done. Okay, but I'm not famous
sure.
by no means.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so for me, it's like when somebody wants to get their picture taken with me. If I know you and we're friends, okay, sorry, it doesn't bother me.
Yeah,
Okay, that's cool. When people, and that happen very often, but once in a while it'll happen.
yeah,
Or somebody asks me to sign something for them, and I feel weird about it because I'm just a normal guy.
yep. My whole idea behind this podcast was talking to just normal people who have extraordinary talent, and when I say extraordinary, a lot of times it's going to put somebody off. Like you don't feel extraordinary,
No, not at all.
but to someone, to what we call a lay person, or to someone who doesn't have that talent, that's extraordinary. You know, when I think about nurses, that's extraordinary because I can't. I faint at the idea of a shot. I get sick to my stomach.
She
thinking
watches
about-
Grey's Anatomy, dude. They do the surgery parts. I have to close my eyes.
Right.
I can't do it.
I mean,
Like this isn't even real life.
yeah.
Yeah,
You're like,
I can't look at
no,
it.
come
But
on.
I can watch
now.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's no problem.
We had to put their intestines back in them today, and you just shove it back in. What? No, you don't. Yeah, you do.
It's not
Yeah,
real.
it's not.
It's not
But
even
no,
accurate.
so I just think it's really cool to have ordinary people who are living in what others might perceive as an extraordinary life. The kid I had on here last week, he's at the Air Force Academy. That's an extraordinary opportunity, man. That's like a thousand. He said 1,000 cadets come in out of like right around 60,000 applicants, and of those 1,000, not all of them make it through.
Wow.
I mean, that's extraordinary. And he's just like, man, I'm having a blast. Well, he's 19 years old. You better be having a blast, brother. You better enjoy it, because when you're older, you're going to look back and go, damn.
I was trying to figure out how to buy baby formula and diapers for the week at 19 years old.
So that's so crazy that you bring that up, because when I was talking to Erica Wyckoff, she was talking about at 23, she was having to get rental cars and plan for her trips to go out and like going all over the country to go golf. And I'm telling my wife about it, and Jennifer's like, yeah, we were changing diapers and figuring out how to raise a child. Boy, isn't that extraordinary?
It is.
I'm looking at it. I'm looking at what you do. It's extraordinary. I don't have that talent. Uh, I look at what nurses do, and that's extraordinary. I don't have that talent. But boy, raising a kid is legit. There's an art form to that, people.
That's a fact. But I'll say this, and I've told my kids this too. Like my whole family sacrificed a lot for me to do what I do.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
my kids have sacrificed by none, bar none, more than anybody else, and I'm not proud of that. That's something I'm not really proud of. I say it because a lot of times I was trying to get something done for a show,
Mhm.
or I was working 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, and then when I had free time, I was in the shop instead of doing the things I should have been doing, and I'm not proud of that. I'm not proud of that. I'm not saying like bad things, like
Yeah.
okay, it's a swim meet. I'm not gonna make that because I got to get this done.
Yeah.
And if I could go back and talk to myself then, I'd be like, listen, dude.
There's not going to be that many more swim meets, buddy.
Yeah, exactly right. I seen an interview with Michael Keaton not too long ago, and he's like, listen, no matter what you're doing, your job, anything, you get to spend time with your kids. Fuck everything else.
That's right.
And now that I'm older and I have grandkids, I have great relationships with my kids.
Yeah.
I raised my oldest two. Um, I was in my youngest daughter's life her whole life, and she's 20 now. But there's some things, if I could go back and change that, I'd have made time for the swim meet, and I wouldn't have, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because this is still here.
That's right.
I took 2 years off when Victoria was sick, and I came back in it, and I'm like, man, I just don't know if I'm going to be able to grab the traction I had.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I'm dad duty before any duty.
Right.
And I would literally work 10 hours a day, come home, work in my shop for 4 hours, all 10, 12 hours on Saturday, 6, 8 hours on Sunday. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the kids were there. I was talking to them and stuff, but I was there, but I wasn't there.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
So that's one thing. And if I could go back and change anything, I'd definitely do that. I'm not proud of that fact, but my kids have known. I've said that what I just told you to my children. There's
Yeah.
things.
In your defense, though, you were also just trying to provide, and that's the only way you knew how to provide was to work.
That's all I knew how to do.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because I think about that with my own dad. And my dad went to work at a factory, worked the same factory 35 years. And he also had a side gig, mowing lawns
And split a lot of wood.
and split a lot of wood, brother.
Split a lot of wood.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I need to apologize to some of my buddies from back in the day for making them help me bring wood in. And I know I didn't return the favor. I was kind of a dick that way,
But yeah, man, like my kids are all doing well for themselves. I got 3 grandsons,
That's
and
the goal, man. So, and as much as you're apologizing for not being there, you taught them something in that
they
moment.
all have great work ethics.
100%.
All have great work ethics. But
But
yeah,
I get it.
I got 3 grandkids, and they're super parents. Like my son Hayden's awesome. Haley is phenomenal. Hayden's got 2. Haley's got 1. And they are. I'm proud as hell of both of
Good.
them. They're awesome parents, and I couldn't ask for better kids. And they're not in a bunch of trouble. They work their asses off. They struggle like we
Sure.
did, like
That's
everybody
right.
does, but they're good
right.
kids.
It's good. Man, I'm so glad you came. I've had a blast tonight.
It's been fun.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
I'm excited to see what happens next. And now that you're going to be closer, I got no excuse not to come out and see your shop and see what you do.
See the bikes in person, actually.
100%. 100%.
I can point out all the bad spots on all of them.
No, don't do that. Let me find them.
Well, thanks for having us, man.
Yeah,
we enjoyed
that's
it.
awesome. Hey, everybody, we're out.